YouTube, man, what's going on? It's LNH back with another vid, man. If you guys have not seen what's happening, man, the Bronny James, Amari Bailey, and Mikey Williams game, the Sierra Canyon versus Vertical Prep, just went down, but we heard some terrible news. I'm not gonna lie, so let's break it down and get right into it. Now, if you guys didn't see what actually happened, man, of course, we've been hyping up this game for a minute now, but some terrible news came out just right before the game actually went on. Now, the report had actually stated that Bronny James and Amari Bailey will both be out tonight against Vertical Academy due to an injury. Now, honestly, when I immediately saw this, I was super disappointed because we've been hyping this game up for a minute now. If you have somebody like Mikey Williams, one of the best players in his class, ranked 11th in the country, going up against Bronny James and Amari Bailey, of course, probably one of the best scorers in the country, is really able to put the ball in the basket with ease. And then Bronny James, of course, this would have been a game for him to really prove a ton about how good of a player he is and how he can make an impact on his game, because you guys know the critics really come after Bronny heavy. But this would have been a game where he really could have shown that. And unfortunately, Bronny James had knee issues and Amari Bailey had foot issues. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I really don't see too many games where these guys sit out. And I am a little bit curious as to why they just decided to sit out for this game. We know this entire season, of course, Bronny was injured in the past. But besides that, these guys have seemed for the most part pretty healthy and able to play in all of the games. But when you get an opportunity, and this is one of the biggest games that they were going to play in, and then they're out with injuries, man, something just does not sound right about this. Now, of course, you got to be smart with your body and not just take every single game and keep playing regardless, because you can get hurt and it can cause chronic injuries and you'll get injuries over the long run. But there is something definitely fishy about this, and I'm really curious why these two guys didn't play. Some people are even saying they were scared to hop on the court. I really don't think so, but at the end of the day, it does seem pretty interesting that one of the biggest games, them finally getting a chance to play Mikey and they don't show up. Man, what's going on? But the game was still pretty interesting in my opinion. Now, the score actually was 76-68, but Sierra Canyon actually took the W, which was pretty surprising because think about it. If you have people like Bronny James and Amari Bailey not playing and they're still able to win the game, that just shows how good of a team they have. Now, Mikey Williams for sure was no disappointment. This dude dropped 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. And you guys see, that is a solid stat sheet. If you're able to score a ton of points for your team, 8 rebounds and 5 assists, get your guys involved, you're clearly doing a lot on the court and impacting the game a ton. It's not only about scoring 50, 60 points. Sometimes you got to put up 20, 30 and then have your rebounds and assists, and you're touching each and individual part of the game, which honestly, in my opinion, I think that just shows you how good of an overall IQ Mikey Williams has for sure. Now, I think what truly no one is realizing about Mikey Williams is he's starting to become an overall really good player and not just a scorer. And that's super important for long-term development. Again, it's showing his IQ, but showing that he can affect the game in multiple areas, even if he's not having a hot scoring night. And 22 points is still pretty solid in my opinion. But man, a lot of people are also talking about how if we see that Bronny James and Amari Bailey were not playing, think about it. What would have happened if they would have played? Now, it looks like Sierra Canyon, for the most part, their starters actually weren't even playing in this game. And if their starters aren't playing and they're still winning the basketball game, it really says something about Vertical Prep as a whole for this one game. Now, you guys know Vertical Prep even played IMG Academy just a few weeks ago, and they got killed in that game. So I'm really curious, just because we have all this hype and all this talent, you have Mikey Williams, Trey Parker, these dudes are household names at this point. Just because they have all this clout and all this attention doesn't always mean that they're the best teams in the country. And clearly, if they're losing to a team who doesn't even have their star players on the basketball court, that does say something about their entire squad for sure. Now, on the other hand, Mikey Williams' squad actually did play another game against Emmanuel Hansel. You guys know the one-armed hooper. This dude is a bucket for sure. But man, this was also interesting too. Now, Mikey Williams' squad caught the W this time, 95-89. But what was really interesting was the points that were put up. Now, Mikey had 29 points. Trey Parker actually had 31 points. Hansel had 17. And another dude, Angel Montez, had 49 points. 49 points against Mikey Williams. 49 points. Man, you got to clap it up for him for sure, because that was super tough. There's not too many people, again, that are scoring those type of points on a team like Mikey Williams. But man, I got to give it to this squad, man. At least Vertical Prep did catch the W against this Emmanuel Hansel's squad, which was good for his team. But man, there's been a ton of news going on. Very interesting, especially with Mikey Williams again. And it's really interesting how the news about Bronny James and Amari Bailey was only put out really about 20 minutes after the fact that the game started. So they were hyping up this game for a while now, and then they probably knew that Bronny James and Amari Bailey were not going to play, but didn't release that information until much later, really close to before the game started, which honestly, that's a bad move in my opinion. Think about all the people that paid for tickets and that were playing there, and you're pretty much just almost not giving them what they paid for, which is wild to me. Again, they can't control injuries, but at least you should let people know. But that would of course cause people probably not to come to the game if they knew that Amari Bailey and Bronny were not playing, which is bad news. But Mikey actually said something at the end of the game in a post-game interview that is super interesting. A lot of people are looking at this and stating that this dude just announced where he's going to school. Now let's take a look at the interview.
This is my kind of environment. I like, big crowds, big bright lights, it just go together. So it was dope, especially playing at the HBCU. So I'm kind of used to it now, but I think I like the experience. I like experience stuff like this.
Now, in that interview, he did say he loved the environment. He said it was his type of environment, and basically that he pretty much was interested technically or like the environment of an HBCU. And you guys know there's been a lot of speculation as to where he's going in the future. But in my opinion, this dude has been giving low-key hints this entire time. He's been saying he's going to upset people with where he decides to go to school. And initially, he did have a list out of where he was going to go, but I believe he actually opened up his recruitment, so I don't believe that list of initial schools that he had is valid anymore. But we really haven't heard too much until this, and I think this has been pretty consistent with what he's been saying this entire time. He's pretty much been saying that he's going to take an unconventional route, because you guys know the majority of people, if you're a big time hooper, you're probably either going to, one, try to go straight to the league, two, go to college, use that NIL rule, try to get money and just do your thing in college and then go to the league, most likely be a one and done, or three, most likely you can also go and play in the NBA G League, go play with Team Ignite, do your thing there, prepare for the NBA, play with the guys who've been in the league, the scouts, the coaches, and then really be able to just transition to the league with ease. But him saying that he's going to college but taking an alternative route, maybe going to an HBCU, is something that you don't see high level players do too often. So I think he's definitely going to shock a ton of people if he actually does make that move. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below if you think that's a valid move for him. What do you think about the games as well, how Mikey Williams played overall? I think he did his thing on the court, did pretty well. I don't think his rankings are going to drop again. He's been super solid, but man, we still also want to see that matchup with him going head to head against who? Bronny James and Amari Bailey. So hopefully it can happen. But you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Like the vid, sub the channel. It's Nation. I'm out.
The future is bright. You know the vibes.